So I went to Towson, got my bachelor's degree. I have to say that because I think it's great. And then I came home to my childhood bedroom, decked out in again '90s basketball, and I opened my we call it armoire, not dresser, armoire. It's like two in the
I know
drawers.
exactly what it is. Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I pull out the Sean Kemp white champion jersey that I got at Marshall's. And I try it on. I'm like, this shit fits. I was like, this is so dope. Like, I had this in 1996 or 7. And then I'm trying it on and I'm 21, 2 years old and it still fits me. Like, what the hell? So I'm like, where can I get more of these things? And then I was on I don't know. I was watching TV and I think an eBay commercial came up. I'm like, what is eBay? So I like went on eBay, I got it, and I like dialed in. I'm like champion jerseys, and then like a million came up, and I was like blown the fuck away. No joke. I was like, holy shit. So I decided to buy on one account, and then I pretty much bought, I don't know, 150 champion jerseys. That's all I wanted because that's what I grew up on. I didn't have anything else. Or like Apex. The Corliss Williamson jersey was an Apex. Actually, I had a Felipe Lopez Apex jersey
I love
also.
Felipe. Yep, St.
Felipe,
John's.
I love. I'll tell you the story about Felipe too, which is cool. Um, but yeah, so I collected a bunch, and then I was like, all right, I have so many of them. What am I going to do? So what I did was I bought on one account, and then I sold on another account. So I'd buy champion, and then I throw it on that, and then I would say fast forward 2000, I don't know, 8 or 9. I happened to be in Brooklyn, and I found a flea market, and I've never seen a flea market in my entire life. And I was like, what the fuck is this? I'm like, people set up clothes and they sell them, and you can look at them and you can negotiate. What is this? So I found a booth actually who had some sports stuff. And I was just like flipping through, and he ended up having a pair of 94 Air Jordan 1s for like $50. I'm like, I'm grabbing these, boom. And I started talking to them, and I'm like, I have a bunch of jerseys. Like, is it possible if I could sell with you guys? They're like, yeah, why don't you come back on the next day? I was like, okay. So I drove up to Brooklyn. I set up with these guys. And so yeah, I was like, whoa. I like was blown away. So I sold one jersey, and I'm like, I want to do this for the rest of my life. This is it. This is what I'm doing. I'm going to sell jerseys at a flea market for the rest of my life. So that day I was talking to them. I was like, guys, this is awesome. I want to do this again with you. They're like, nah, like we don't really need you. Like, it's just me and him and we're slinging stuff. I was like, all right, basically, fuck you guys. I'm going to do this myself. So I found a flea market in Manhattan where I was living. Um, and I was like, how do I do this? How do I set up? Like, do I have to get paperwork? They were like, you need a sales tax license. I was like, okay. So I applied for a sales tax license. I got it. And then basically this flea market was year round. I opened the first time in January in the freezing cold in New York City. I set up, and I sold champion jerseys. I sold starter jackets. I sold snapback hats. I sold vintage sports tees and sneakers and just like random starting lineups for my childhood bedroom. And that's it. And then from January to May, I did it every weekend, and I fell in love with it. And I'm like, this is it. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And then I was like, maybe there's more to the flea market. Maybe there's something else I could do, like a store. I don't know. I can't afford a store. So I ended up in Brooklyn, right near the Barclays Center. There was this 20, like, that's 20, year-round flea market. So instead of on the weekends, it was Monday through Sunday. So basically, they had these old shipping containers that they cut in half and they made them into like 80 square foot stores. So for 500 bucks for the month, I did that from May to October. And then unfortunately, someone bought the land and kicked all of us out. And I was like, fuck, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? Like, I only have like 6 grand to my name. Where am I going to go? Um, so randomly, I was walking in the East Village where my store is currently now, and I stumbled upon this small store that was vacant and it was literally move-in ready. It had racks, it had shelving, it was ready to go. I'm like, oh my God, this is it. How do I get this store? So I'm just staring at it literally. I'm in awe. I'm like blown away. I'm just like this. And this lady walks out of the apartment building, because that's what New York City is. It's all these brownstones with like 2 stores and then the door for the building. And this lady walks out and she's like, "Hey, you interested in the store?" I'm like, "Yeah, but like I can't have a store. Like I literally was selling at a flea market and I only have $6,000 to my name." She's like, "Well, what do you do?" I'm like, "Well, I sell like vintage sportswear from the 90s. It's all jerseys." And I'm like, "I can literally hang shit up and I can start selling tomorrow." And she goes, "Yeah, call me tomorrow. The store is yours." And I'm
Uh-huh.
like, "What?" She's like, "Loved your story. We had a men's vintage clothing store here. The guy just ran up and left, and we've been looking for someone just like you to literally just set up and go, and that's it." I'm like, "Okay, but I only have $6,000. Like, how am I going to afford this store?" She's like, "Give me $5,700 up front, and at 2,500 bucks a month, sign a 3-year lease." I'm like, "Okay." So I literally signed the lease. I gave her $5,700. I found a guy on Craigslist for 250 bucks. He painted the whole store. And then I had, no joke, this is real deal. I had $50 to my name and I had like a bunch of jerseys and some other miscellaneous stuff from the flea market that I had. And then I called the guys that I met at the Brooklyn Flea. Yeah, so basically, I consigned the guys from the Brooklyn Flea where I, basically started, because I built up money and then I never looked back. I've been on the block for almost 9 years. I didn't want to stay. I moved across the street because I needed a bigger store. We grew, um, and I never looked back. And I love it every freaking day. I eat, sleep, and breathe vintage sportswear, and I really owe it to the lady, Mary, who owned the building. She was the owner of the building. I just thought she like lived there. I didn't know. I told her my story and she believed in me, and she was just basically handed me the store when I had no money. Um, I ended up staying in her store for 5 years, and then it was easy. It was 2,500 bucks a month. I didn't have to I gave him $5,700 up front. I didn't have to renovate the store. I did nothing. And then when I moved across the street, they were like, "Well, you need to renovate. We also want $50,000 up front just for security deposit, and the rent will be 6 grand a month." I said, "Oh shit, fuck it, I'm doing this. I know this is going to work." And I've been there almost 4 years, and every year it goes up more money, so I'm paying more money, and now I have employees, and I'm paying payroll and insurance, and oh my god, and I wouldn't change it for the world. I